We would hear something running on our right, and then we would hear something running on our left, and it stopped real quick. And then Dad looked up at up there at the tree, and he's like, oh, I see something.
Suddenly, in the dark woods of Florida, an enormous figure rushed behind a tree and vanished. This left Stacy Brown, Sr., a seasoned former Army Ranger, and his son utterly terrified while searching for Bigfoot one night in May 2012. As quickly as it had appeared, the figure was gone, and their camera shut off, plunging them into complete darkness. What could have frightened Stacy Brown so much? Let's delve into this chilling Bigfoot sighting and determine if it was real. According to the Browns, their quiet night was soon disrupted by strange sounds in the darkness. These noises seemed to move around them, first on one side, then the other, as if something or someone was darting through the trees. Following the sounds with their camera, Stacy Sr. suddenly saw what he described as a small black figure hiding behind a tree. Through the thermal lens, this figure appeared briefly before dashing across a gap in the trees and disappearing from view. At this point, the elder Brown's reaction was unexpectedly fearful. Despite his military training, he reportedly panicked, and his anxiety quickly escalated. He claimed the camera stopped working at that moment, cutting off their only way to capture what they were witnessing. Urgently, he insisted they leave immediately and asked his son if he had brought a gun. The Brown story sounds like it could be straight out of a thriller movie. There's suspense, a sudden encounter, and a figure that vanishes at the height of the tension. Adding to the drama, the camera malfunctions at the crucial moment, leaving no evidence but their word. It's easy to see how such details could make the story more captivating for those who follow their documentary work or are interested in Bigfoot tales. Critically speaking, one might wonder if the elements of this story were enhanced for effect. The timing of the camera failure is notably convenient, eliminating any chance for others to verify their account. Such tales often seem crafted to draw in audiences, possibly boosting the Browns' profile among enthusiasts of supernatural or unexplained phenomena. Moreover, venturing into the forest at night with a device meant to detect the unseen sets the stage for a narrative filled with suspense. It taps into our innate love for exploring the unknown and the thrill of potentially uncovering something hidden. Whether or not the Browns actually encountered Bigfoot, their story accomplishes what many similar tales do. It sparks the imagination and keeps people talking. Back at their truck, Stacy Jr. was eager to review the footage they had captured. As they watched the video, one particular frame stood out, looking remarkably similar to the famous shot of Patty from the 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film, which purportedly showed a large, hairy creature walking beside a creek in Northern California. Stacy Jr. was convinced about what they had filmed. "It's clear evidence," he stated with conviction. "Think about it. What kind of person would be out here over a mile from the nearest road without a flashlight on a random Tuesday night?" Tony just nodded, perhaps agreeing, perhaps just maintaining harmony. Then came Steve Coles, a notable figure in the Bigfoot research community who never seemed to doubt these kinds of claims. He wasn't surprised by the location of the footage. In Florida, the local version of Bigfoot is known as the skunk ape, named for its strong, unpleasant odor. "This area has had its fair share of sightings," Coles explained, "and the descriptions are pretty consistent. A Bigfoot-like creature. They're not as large as those reported in the Pacific Northwest, which might be due to the hot, humid weather here," he added, sounding more speculative than certain. The term skunk ape comes from the creature's alleged stench and its smaller size compared to its northwestern counterparts. This name and these details fit neatly with what people expect a Bigfoot from Florida to be like. Coles mentioned that sightings in these swamps date back to the days of the native tribes, adding a layer of historical depth to these ongoing tales. Despite years of claims and numerous searches by both believers and skeptics, solid evidence of Bigfoot or the skunk ape's existence remains elusive. Yet for enthusiasts like Stacy Jr. and his father, even a grainy video can seem like compelling proof, driven more by their hopes than the actual clarity of the footage. Whether they truly believe or simply don't want their efforts to feel in vain isn't always clear. However, they are not alone in their belief. Each new claim attracts more people hoping to finally prove that something unexplained is lurking in the woods. To the outside observer, the ongoing fascination with creatures like Bigfoot might seem driven more by a love of legends than by concrete evidence. Every new piece of evidence tends to raise more questions than it answers, yet the hope and excitement never seem to fade. This pattern repeats with each sighting, each piece of shaky footage, and each testimonial, weaving a tapestry of folklore sustained more by faith than by evidence. In the world of cryptids and their hunters, the thrill of the chase, and perhaps the allure of being part of a modern-day legend, often outweighs the need for verifiable proof. Let's explore another strange tale from the forest, a thermal camera's tale of the unknown. The Seminoles and the Muskogee refer to a figure known as Esti Kapkaki, or Tall Man, describing him as a protector of the forests. This raises the question, was this the same being that the Browns reportedly saw? When experts were called in to analyze the situation, they began with the simplest explanation. Could it just be a person out there? Captured using a thermal camera, the image shows a consistent heat pattern across the body without the disruptions that clothes typically cause, suggesting that whatever it was, it appeared to be unclothed. Tony found it puzzling why someone would be wandering around the woods without any clothes on. Wildlife biologist Stephanie Manka offered another perspective, suggesting it might be a large primate. However, the behavior and physical characteristics of the figure don't match those of any known apes like chimpanzees or gorillas. Specifically, the creature's legs were too long, and unlike gorillas, which sometimes walk hunched on their hind legs, this figure moved differently in its upright stance. Adding to the discussion, Tony suggested that perhaps gorillas or large chimps had escaped from private zoos in Florida, a state known for such establishments. However, anthropologist Kathy Strain quickly dismissed this idea. She pointed out that the creature's body shape and its distinctive way of moving, known as a Groucho walk characterized by a sneaky, knee-bent manner, were not typical of any known primates. Strain's insight indicated that the observed behavior didn't match typical animal behaviors recorded in scientific literature. This revelation complicates matters further, as everyone tries to fit this unusual sighting into the known categories of animal species. As we delve deeper, the discussion is filled with individual sightings, vague reports, and rich local tales, yet none provide concrete proof. What are we actually dealing with here? Could it be a clever trick, a misidentified animal, or perhaps something entirely unknown that hasn't been documented? The debate continues, fueled by the thermal footage and various accounts from people who claim to have seen something unusual. Yet, clear, solid evidence to settle the discussion remains elusive, much like the creature itself, always a step ahead in the dense forest of our understanding. As the conversation progresses, it becomes increasingly clear that we're navigating a complex web of possibilities and hypotheses where each seemingly plausible explanation only raises more questions. Are we chasing shadows, or is there something tangible behind these accounts? As more experts weigh in, the story becomes a collage of theories and conjectures, adding color but not clarity, leaving us to wonder what might be lurking in the unexplored shadows of nature. The Patterson-Gimlin film and similar footage depict a creature with an unusual walk, more like a slow, deliberate shuffle with its knees always bent. This creature doesn't match typical human proportions. It has shorter legs relative to its body and an almost imperceptible neck. Its arms are thick and muscular, almost like those of a bodybuilder, which seems unusual for a creature supposedly living in the wild. This supposed Bigfoot stands much taller than the average person, with estimates often placing it over 6 feet tall, possibly even reaching 7 feet. Its body is not just tall, but also broad and hefty, appearing powerful and sturdy, unlike the thinner, more delicate animals one might expect to find roaming the forests. Critics like Tony argue that if this video were truly convincing, it would include more detailed images, perhaps captured with thermal cameras that can see through the trees. They point out that the videos we do see are too convenient, shaky, unclear, and ending just when you think you might get a good look at the creature. This pattern has led some to speculate that what we're actually seeing might be a person in a well-made costume, trying to stir up excitement or fool people into believing they've seen a monster. Moreover, when the camera suddenly stops working, as Stacy Brown, Jr. claims, it adds to the doubt. He insists it was a genuine accident, but it's suspiciously convenient that such technical failures seem to happen at the most crucial moments. Dr. Meldrum, who knows Brown personally, believes he didn't fabricate the story. Yet, we must consider whether it's likely or even safe for someone to wander through the woods at night, effectively naked, just for a prank. So, what are we really seeing in these films? Are we witnessing a new, undiscovered creature, a real-life giant of the forest? Or is it more plausible that we're looking at a human in a clever disguise, enjoying the stir they cause among viewers and the ongoing debates about their existence? This leaves us in a tough spot. Without solid proof, everyone is left guessing. Are these videos capturing a true, unknown creature of the woods? Or are they simply tales kept alive by blurry footage and stories shared by those who want to believe? Our evidence compels us to consider the latter, as actual scientific proof remains elusive, and the supposed sightings do more to fuel stories and speculation than provide real answers. The conclusion seems to lean towards a crafty creation of myth rather than a revelation of a hidden truth in the natural world. Next, we delve into the history and recent sightings. The boogeyman's faint echoes. In April 2009, Chuck Newton took his son to the Appalachian Mountains in Virginia for an ATV ride through rough terrain. Their adventure took an unexpected turn when they encountered a large, hairy figure crossing their path, bringing their ride to an abrupt halt. This incident was captured on a thermal imaging camera, sparking debate ever since. The footage, shot at night, shows a figure over 7 feet tall walking on 2 legs. This description typically evokes thoughts of Bigfoot, a creature often discussed in American folklore, especially in areas rich in such legends. Stories from the Cherokee and Virginia align with this, describing similar large, hairy beings in the woods, much like the accounts from the Pacific Northwest. Field researcher Cliff Barackman notes that the similarity in descriptions across different cultures and times might suggest these creatures exist. Old newspaper articles, like one from 1892, have reported on these beings, known locally as wood boogers, a term used before Sasquatch became popular. This name, similar to boogeyman, was meant to scare people, especially children, from wandering into the woods at night for fear of encountering this creature. However, not everyone is convinced by the video. While Barackman believes Chuck's reaction seems natural and not staged, emphasizing his focus on the creature rather than the camera, others are skeptical. The creature's indifference to the loud ATV is curious. Biologist Floyd Hayes thinks the figure could be just a person in a costume or even part of a staged scene. On the other hand, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, an anatomy professor, argues that the creature's behavior could be typical of a Sasquatch if they were real. The story of Sasquatch became popular in the American South after the Civil War, possibly fueled by sightings of Confederate soldiers who hid in the forests and might have been mistaken for wild, hairy creatures. However, this doesn't account for the older Native American legends, which suggest a longer-standing origin for these tales. Critics of the Sasquatch stories argue that such narratives are often used to fill in gaps in our understanding with a supposedly elusive creature. The idea that different cultures independently describing similar creatures confirms their existence is often viewed skeptically. Are these blurry, nighttime videos showing us real evidence, or are we just dressing up our uncertainty in mythical narratives? The movement of the figure in the video also raises questions. It does not move like a bear would on its hind legs, which is a more likely explanation than a mythical creature. Bears walking upright tend to waddle and take shorter steps, but the figure in the video moves with longer, more deliberate strides. Yet, without clearer footage or more evidence, this discussion is likely to continue, driven by a mix of skepticism and a natural human fascination with the unknown. Whether this video depicts a real creature, a person in a costume, or something else, it underscores our ongoing interest in the unexplained. The debate over what was truly captured on that night reflects our enduring fascination with stories of the wild and unknown, contributing to our broader narrative about creatures that exist on the fringes of our understanding. In the absence of definitive evidence, these discussions offer as much insight into human nature and our love for storytelling as they do about any potential undiscovered creatures. Encounters with creatures like Sasquatch typically occur near roads or waterways. This particular story unfolds near a stream. Imagine an all-terrain vehicle, ATV, making its way up the creek bed, its usual noisy intrusion softened by the stream's natural sound, making it less startling. The interaction captured on video between the witness and the person filming feels genuinely spontaneous and convincing, lending credibility to their encounter. Regarding the notion that the figure could merely be a person in a Sasquatch costume, expert Meldrum expresses skepticism but refrains from dismissing it entirely without more information about the creature's size. He estimates it might be around 7 feet tall at most. Considering that most costumes are tailored for individuals of average height, not those who stand 7 or 8 feet tall, a larger than average size would cast doubt on the costume theory. The experts ultimately label it an unidentified mammal, leaving everyone, including myself, still pondering. The origins of this sequence of events date back to 1991 in the Blue Mountains, north of Mill Creek, Washington. Former forest patrolman and Bigfoot enthusiast Paul Freeman, along with a colleague, were there searching for signs of Bigfoot. They discovered what they believed to be numerous tracks from the creature. Fast forward to 1992 in a nearby area called Deduct Spring. Freeman captured on video what he claimed was Bigfoot walking through the forest, allegedly leaving more footprints behind. 4 years later, in 1996, even more footprints appeared in a nearby area known as 5 Points. These footprints were notably large, measuring about 14 inches long. If genuine, they suggested the presence of a very large creature. Barakman highlights that many of these footprints were deeply imprinted, indicating a heavy creature had made them. He draws attention to a photo showing a distinctive feature of the footprints known as a mid-tarsal pressure ridge, which he claims is a significant difference between human and Sasquatch feet. Unlike humans, who possess a rigid arch in their foot, Sasquatches purportedly have a joint that allows their foot to flex. However, some individuals speculate that Freeman's discoveries were merely a well-executed hoax. When comparing Freeman's footprints to known fakes made with a wooden foot model, noticeable differences emerge, particularly in how the soil reacts when the foot pushes off. A genuine foot would disturb the soil differently compared to a rigid wooden fake. Despite these investigations and debates, no one has been able to definitively prove whether the footprints and sightings are genuine or elaborate hoaxes. It's an ongoing discussion, rife with various claims and arguments, lacking solid evidence to settle the matter. It seems the saga of Sasquatch is destined to continue wandering through both the literal and metaphorical forests of the region. While the experts remain puzzled and my own doubts linger, it's evident that the story of the Sasquatch is far from over, maintaining its grip on the curiosity and imagination of those who pursue its trail. Now, let's examine the evidence and hear from the experts. The controversial debates in Bigfoot studies. Jeff Meldrum, a prominent figure in the field of Bigfoot research, introduced the concept of the mid-tarsal break, which has added depth to the ongoing study of Sasquatch. This idea has been significant in the field, although it continues to generate debates and skepticism. Despite Meldrum's acknowledged expertise, his findings and theories often face doubt, particularly when compared with evidence collected by another researcher, Paul Freeman. Freeman drew criticism for his frequent and seemingly too convenient discoveries of evidence. Detractors argued that the sheer volume of evidence he uncovered cast doubt on his claims. Was it plausible for someone to consistently encounter so much compelling evidence? Skepticism mounted as Freeman's high-profile video and numerous footprint discoveries came under scrutiny for their authenticity. Meldrum, despite being a staunch believer in Bigfoot's existence, approached the situation with caution regarding potential frauds. His skepticism led him to unexpectedly visit Freeman to personally verify the validity of his findings. Meldrum saw this as a risk worth taking. What did he have to lose other than potentially undermining his own reputation? During Meldrum's inspection of the so-called 5 Points tracks, he swiftly dismissed the possibility that they were made by any ordinary local animal, such as a bear. He observed that bear prints have a distinct shape because their heels don't fully touch the ground, unlike the rounded heel pads seen in the Sasquatch prints he was analyzing. The feature that particularly caught his attention was the mid-tarsal ridge, unique to Sasquatch prints and absent in human footprints, suggesting a foot adapted for climbing. Meldrum's discovery of a track from Mill Creek dating back to 1991 further bolstered his confidence in the print's authenticity. Despite the passage of time, these prints maintained consistent proportions and orientation, hinting that they might originate from the same Sasquatch observed over several years. This consistency in the footprints, along with newer findings, reinforced his belief in their genuineness and suggested the presence of a single creature over decades. Meldrum speculated that Sasquatches could have lifespans ranging from 30 to 50 years, suggesting that an individual responsible for prints in the early 90s might still be alive. This concept aligns with the idea of a mature Sasquatch persisting in the wilderness, with its continued sightings reinforcing its elusive yet enduring existence. Meanwhile, Boyd Sims, intrigued by Bigfoot and an avid viewer of the show The Proof Is Out There, ventured into the Sam Houston National Forest in Texas to record wildlife sounds. Instead, he captured what he believed to be Bigfoot calls, unsettling howls and barks that shocked him, as these sounds did not match any known animal recordings. These were not the first supposed recordings of Bigfoot sounds. The Sierra Sound recordings from the 1970s are often cited as the best auditory evidence of Bigfoot's existence. The area continues to be a hotspot for Bigfoot enthusiasts, with over 40 reported sightings each year within the Sam Houston National Forest alone. The quest for Bigfoot persists, fueled by individuals like Meldrum and Sims. Every new piece of evidence further ignites interest and speculation, backed by a community eager to prove or at least entertain the possibility of Bigfoot's existence. However, with each new claim, there are always skeptics ready to scrutinize the findings, leaving many to contemplate where reality ends and folklore begins. Some individuals believe that the sounds recorded in the Sierra Nevada mountains of California could be evidence of a Bigfoot or Sasquatch, communicating in what appears to be an undocumented language. Let's explore what various experts think about this possibility. Jeff Meldrum, an authority on the subject, suggests that the whoops and barks heard in the recordings might be how this elusive creature, assumed to be quite rare and typically solitary, communicates to find a mate or mark its territory. Drawing a parallel, Meldrum highlights large male orangutans that use similar vocal techniques to assert dominance in the jungle. They possess specialized throat structures that amplify their calls, leading Meldrum to speculate that Sasquatch may have something similar enabling them to produce these sounds, possibly even generating infrasound. Infrasound, a type of low-frequency sound utilized by some large animals for long-distance communication, is believed to affect the emotions of those who perceive it. Meldrum suggests that it could elicit specific brain responses, potentially inducing feelings of fear. Expanding on his theory, Meldrum proposes that Sasquatches might intentionally employ this infrasound to deter humans, safeguarding their dwindling numbers from intrusion. To assess these hypotheses, forensic audio analyst Dr. Robert Maher scrutinizes the recordings by comparing them to sounds emitted by known animals in the area. Beginning with the wild boar, known for its distinctive chirping sound, he notes a significant difference from the prolonged howl captured in what is referred to as the Sam Houston recording. Similarly, he rules out the fox, whose vocalizations resemble chirps rather than howls. While the coyote's call shares some resemblance, starting with a low pitch that rises, Maher cannot conclusively confirm it as a match. Maher also examines the Sierra Sounds, another set of recordings often cited as evidence of Bigfoot. He observes that these sounds differ in duration and tone from those in the Sam Houston recording, suggesting they may not originate from the same source. While Maher cannot definitively attribute the sounds to a specific known animal, he eliminates most local wildlife as potential sources, though the possibility of the coyote remains unconfirmed. He suggests that the sounds may originate from an unidentified animal, leaving the conversation open for those intrigued by such possibilities. In another incident on May 23, 1997, in the Catskill Mountains of New York, Doug Pridgeon was filming his friends at a music festival when a small, two-legged creature emerged in the background, swiftly maneuvering between trees and swinging from branches. This led some to speculate that it could be a young Sasquatch, given the agility of the creature's movements and the physical demands on the tree branches, which would be challenging for a human to replicate. Let's delve into more peculiar sightings and the accompanying challenging inquiries. Following the trails of elusive entities. Every so often, reports surface regarding sightings of young Sasquatch-like creatures, harking back to a historical anecdote from the 1800s in British Columbia. According to accounts, railroad workers stumbled upon a juvenile Sasquatch, incapacitated it with a rock, and briefly held it captive. Contemporary newspapers chronicled the creature's size and dietary preferences before it vanished from historical records, sparking conjecture about its ultimate fate. Some speculate it might have been transported to the UK or even acquired by P.T. Barnum for his travelling circus. In the most recent footage, purportedly, there's mention of a large Sasquatch sighted below and a younger one spotted high in a tree. The scarcity of sightings of young Sasquatches, some argue, parallels the infrequency of spotting baby pigeons or squirrels. The prevailing theory suggests that akin to many wildlife species, Sasquatch mothers likely conceal their offspring in secluded locations until they're sufficiently robust to navigate the environment. The video allegedly depicts this young Sasquatch. Nevertheless, skepticism looms regarding whether it could merely be a human child playing among the branches. Critics of this notion contend that while children may be agile, they typically don't traverse trees with the effortless grace observed in the video, leading them to speculate about the possibility of a different species altogether. Contributing to the discourse, Tony suggests the creature might be a young bear, since bear cubs are known to climb trees. However, Dr. Meldrum, a seasoned expert in the field, rebuffs this notion, highlighting that the creature's physique more closely resembles that of an ape, specifically a young chimpanzee, based on limb proportions. According to him, we're either observing a misplaced young chimpanzee or a juvenile Sasquatch. Private investigator Steve Coles also joins the investigation in an attempt to unravel the mystery. He verifies with the landowner that no animals are permitted on the property due to insurance regulations. Coles goes a step further, reaching out to local zoos and laboratories to inquire about any potential animal escapes, but finds no corroborating evidence. Tony subsequently consults with Stephanie Manka, a wildlife biologist, in hopes of gaining fresh insights into the creature exhibiting primate-like characteristics. Despite the wealth of expert opinions and meticulous investigations, the true identity of the creature remains subject to debate. Whenever a new video purporting to depict a Bigfoot emerges, it triggers renewed discussions and disputes. Supporters and skeptics engage in debates fueled by a combination of scientific perspectives and speculative conjecture. These discussions persist endlessly, with each faction using the latest claims to fortify their arguments. Yet, amidst the ongoing analyses and debates, the truth remains elusive, with no definitive answers emerging. Considering the typical behavior of primates, one would anticipate a young primate to remain in close proximity to its mother. Primates typically have small litters and maintain close maternal care for extended periods. This maternal bond serves to safeguard offspring from threats and impart essential survival skills. Therefore, it seems improbable and somewhat puzzling for a young primate to be discovered far from its mother, particularly in a tree. Furthermore, it's challenging to envision why a primate mother would expose her young to the chaotic environment of a music festival. Such events are characterized by noise and crowds, posing potential dangers and discomfort for wild animals. In such settings, wildlife find no inherent advantages, as they naturally seek out tranquil and secure habitats. Tony's perspective underscores a clear divergence from Meldrum's interpretations regarding the identity of the creatures observed. Tony appears to question whether the observed behavior aligns with known primate behavior. This discrepancy emphasizes the importance of carefully considering animal behavior before drawing conclusions based on observations. It underscores the necessity for thoughtful analysis and a comprehensive understanding of typical animal behaviors, particularly in unfamiliar or unconventional circumstances. Their differing viewpoints shed light on the intricacies involved in observing and comprehending wildlife, especially in environments outside their natural habitats. This discourse serves as a reminder of the complexities inherent in wildlife observation and the significance of skepticism and thorough examination when interpreting unusual sightings. By scrutinizing these behaviors through a pragmatic lens, we can gain insights into the innate instincts and requirements of wild animals, elucidating why certain behaviors may appear anomalous. Black bears have a notable affinity for human food, which is understandable given the abundance of food at events like festivals, often left unattended. These gatherings present an enticing opportunity for black bears, always on the lookout for an effortless meal. The piles of discarded food serve as an open invitation for them to indulge without much effort. Additionally, black bears possess adept climbing abilities. It's commonplace to witness a mother bear encouraging her cubs to ascend trees. This behavior isn't merely recreational, it's a survival tactic. The higher the cubs climb, the safer they are from ground-level hazards. Therefore, if one observes a nimble and agile figure swinging among the branches, it's plausible that it could be a young bear rather than a primate. The mother bear recognizes trees as a secure playground and a refuge for her cubs. At a bustling festival, all eyes were drawn to a lively creature frolicking among the branches, sparking a spirited debate among experts regarding its identity. Munka, observing its movements and behavior, leaned towards identifying it as a bear cub. Bear cubs are renowned for their playful antics, often seen scampering and swinging in trees under their mother's vigilant gaze. Conversely, Meldrum noted distinct features in its limb structure and motion, suggesting a resemblance to primates, known for their elongated limbs and adept tree climbing abilities. This discordant assessment ignited a lively debate with no clear resolution in sight. Each expert staunchly defended their stance, leveraging their expertise to advocate either for a bear cub or a primate classification. However, all concurred on one point: it was unmistakably not a human being. Despite the ongoing discourse, a consensus remained elusive, shrouded by fragmented sightings and expert disparities. Spectators and specialists alike continued to speculate, each observation contributing to the tapestry of conjecture without definitively unraveling the mystery. The discussion stretched on, yielding more queries than answers, as the enigmatic creature in the tree persisted in eluding definitive categorization, a source of enduring fascination and intrigue for all those captivated by its enigma. What exactly could this legendary creature be? A playful bear cub or a nimble primate? Feel free to share your theories, engage with comments, and subscribe for further insights.